welcome back, disc golf fans. We are here for round 3 back 9 coverage of the Disc Golf Pro Tour Plus event, Prodigy Presents WACO. Excited to watch these guys attack the back 9 out here at Brazos East. Lots of birdies on the front 9, a couple players 8 down, 7 down, 6 down. Excited to see some birdies continue on the back. I'm Nathan Queen, again joined by Andrew Fish.
Yeah, tell you what, total barn burner. As the game has evolved, WACO, sometimes it rears its ugly head, but on a relatively calm day, players just go shred mode.
Shred mode indeed. Brings us into hole 10. Another birdieable par 4, 591 feet. Want to get a fair amount of distance off the tee. Don't really have to push down the fairway, but the more you get, the easier this approach shot is going to be. You do have to have a little bit of touch. It drops off again behind the basket.
Mason Ford, in my opinion, one of the best fairway control players in the world.
Man, and he's showing you why you think that right there.
Yeah, it feels like he has as much control at 390 with his fairway drivers as I do at, 190.
As we see Gannon pull his a bit off to the right. Gregg also a bit high and to the right, but gonna get pretty favorable finish there down to the left.
And Nate Sexton gonna lean on his strength and try to play flip up forehand, but drags it a little too much to the left.
And Gannon, you can see it's a little hairy over there on the right side. Gonna catch something on his second shot.
Wow, and just kind of making something out of nothing.
Yeah. Traverses the rest of the fairway. Gonna see himself inside circle 2. Looking for a par. Gregg, it's a little tighter over on the left side than it is on the right. Gonna end up catching a little bit of foliage on the way.
And you could see him kind of swipe at his mini to pick it up after leaving that approach shot short. Sexton, pretty good work. And here is Mason.
Yep, showing you why farther down the fairway makes it a bit easier to birdie. Gonna be inside the bullseye. Oh, and Gregg Barsby, just a bit right. Looked good the entire way.
And Gannon from about 36 feet saves his par. That saves a round, Nathan. He's got an 8 down through the front 9. You sure don't want to give that back on one of the most straightforward par 4s out here.
Yeah, definitely so. Big par putt, like you said, not a hole that you want to par, but saving par can definitely keep your momentum going.
Hole 11, 279. Another corridor shot, a couple scattered trees as you approach the green, which is perched right at the edge of a drop off. Forehand and backhand both work here.
What I was gonna call a bit high out of the hand drops very nicely for Mason. Is going to end up getting some quick play off to the left. We'll see if he's got a clean putt or not.
I think regardless of whether that hit a tree, you kind of just have to live with, backhands end up down at the bottom of the slope most of the time.
We see a couple forehand plays from Sexton and Gannon. Gannon going to end up circle 2 short.
And Gregg's shot stays high. Will be on the same level as the basket, but a little further away than you'd desire.
Yeah, hard to say whether that's better as Gannon just keeps the putter going 40, 45 feet there.
And Gannon switched sponsors over the winter, so this is only his second tournament with a brand new bag.
And Gregg, as I was going to say, hard to say whether it's better to be up top, same height as the basket or not, as it's pretty scary He ends up leaving it low as well as Sexton there.
And very well done by Mason, able to find one of the few windows from that far beyond the basket.
That brings us into hole 12, 609-foot par 4. Gotta kind of push a hyzer straight around that first corner, and then you want it. Your second shot really going to set up better for a righty backhand flex shot to move right the majority of the flight and then fall back left.
A touch inside for Mason Ford. That's going to cut off his angle of approach into the green.
Yeah, and that's what I was talking about, kind of pushing that hyzer forward. Both of these are just kind of straight hyzering, and being on that right side pinches off your angle a bit.
And Sexton going to join them over there, maybe even a little further back. And I like this from Barsby. As you note, he got almost to the back wall, and that leaves him in prime position to attack on his second.
Yeah, and Sexton definitely out of position to get the birdie here. Gonna play very smart to the landing zone. Should be in a fairly easy position to get up and down. Oh, an early tree from Gannon. Trouble brewing.
Yeah, you have to make meaningful headway on your second on this hole. Otherwise, bogey comes in real quick because it's a hard green to attack even when you are in the fairway.
And Gregg from the fairway. This needs to stay up. Oh, and he's going to catch the top of that hill. Should still be in a decent position to get his par, which is going to play pretty well on this hole. As Gannon will not par.
Yeah, just having to burn a stroke, and now back here around 300 feet.
Yeah, very difficult up and down from there just to be able to get his bogey. And had most of the line. Looks like he either caught some wind or some branches up top is going to make him fade off to the left. He'll have to keep that putter going.
Ford will par. Sexton a little dart approach. And not particularly close to going in, but elicited some ooze.
Yeah, Gregg showing some good touch with that forehand. Going to be up there for his par as well. Gannon now with a long look for the bogey.
Wow.
And what else do you expect after watching the rest of the round? Gannon Buhr has that putter going.
Beth at 69.
I just told myself, you got to will this one in there. Whatever you have, just will it in there.
This man is unbelievable. This is what athletes live for. This is the moment.
Got a good thing coming, and it's all I need. Everything I wanted is in front of me. It's a good.
One of the nice things about the Beast is that you break up your woods and your open golf. So we're going to pop back out here into the open, playing into a headwind, 555 par 4. You can play aggressive with a driver straight at the basket, try to fade down the hill, or you can just get yourself down the hill and play for the pretty straightforward birdie.
Yeah, Mason going for that straight line, but not super aggressive. Gonna just fade out to the left into a nice spot. Sexton taking the less aggressive play. Just smaller gap off to the left, but easier to get up there. May have lined himself up with those trees, though.
Gregg tried to play the attack, going to get branched straight down. And Gannon playing baby flex with the driver. And that's way down there. Probably just going to like take a putt. Maybe not to make, but to approach. That's easy pickings.
I don't know. The way he's been putting it, that might still be in his range. As Gregg, from a difficult position, may have rolled back to another difficult position. Much closer, though. Approachable for par. And yeah, Sexton having to deal with these trees here to kind of hit a bit of a line is going to make it up to edge of circle 2.
There are not that many trees on this hole, and everybody but Gannon finding a way to be behind all of them.
Yeah, and Mason putting well also, but has left himself about a 30-foot headwind putt, which has never been my favorite.
I usually settle for the 3-foot headwind putts. Those are my speed.
We'll say 55 from Sexton. Counting on that headwind to lift with a lot of spin, but he'll take the par from there.
And counting on the headwind to lift, but not getting it, also is Mason forward.
Yeah, moves us to hole 14, 303-foot par 3. You've got this new smaller tree on the left that's going to cause the most issue here. Keeps it from being super straightforward. You see Gannon go with a very overstable flex shot there. Going to be inside circle 1.
I think the idea there is he's playing into the headwind, and if he goes overstable enough, he fights the wind and is counting on not going long. Whereas somebody like Sexton is throwing a medium stable disc and trying to slow it down.
Yeah, and just a little too nose up on that one, I think. Kind of leave himself another circle 2 look.
And joining him up there is Gregg Barsby. Never quite got it left of the basket.
Yeah, so if you watch the first round, you'll know that the players had a tailwind on this stretch and made it look fairly easy. But the headwind, even on the shorter hole, causing some pars here.
Hole 15, 609, par maybe 3 1/4. It's going to play a little harder with the headwind today than we saw in round 1.
Yeah, still quite doable, but unlikely to see the eagle look like we did before. This hole also sporting a couple new smaller trees that could come into play here in a few years, make the hole a bit more difficult.
Pretty good shots from Gannon and Mason to start.
Yeah, again, I have pretty much the same approach shot from there. Yeah, and likely all these guys going to be thinking the same thing for their approach is put it just a little bit long of the basket. If you're not going to put it underneath it, make sure you have that tailwind putt. Or
yeah,
I guess if you there could be some players that prefer a headwind putt, but it's not me.
Gregg, from one of the more complicated places you can find, puts it in the bullseye. Sexton, a little jump and then L2, L2 for the rollback.
Yeah, rolled it back right into birdie. Gannon looking like he might scare a tree for just a second, but does miss the tree and maybe pushed it just a little bit long. Yeah, Mason also kind of hanging his out to the left. But going to be inside circle, well in range for birdie.
There's a glitch in the matrix.
Hole 16, brand new this year. Big righty hyzer, you've really got to hang it out over the water. You don't want to go over top of the trees. You want to go around them. Wind dependent is gonna dictate how easy that is.
Yeah, and with this wind direction, you have to put it out an uncomfortable distance over the river. This I like from Nate Sexton.
Yeah, looks like he's put it on that peninsula.
Kind of high and inside from Gregg. And Gannon getting the read from everybody else.
Yeah, it looked to me like that was inside also, but actually just throws it long. Yeah, riding that tailwind. Wow, this looks like it's maybe 50 feet back there.
Yeah, I don't think I saw anything get back there in practice or tournament. Hole 17, 610 feet, par 4. Pretty severe dog leg down to the right. It's about a 20-foot drop from the perfect landing zone at about 360 off the tee. And then the basket nestled kind of right up against the river, or a little inlet. Goes with a pretty obvious forehand.
Yeah, and maybe more inside than he would have liked, but looks like he's going to be in a great position now. That inside can scare the OB right side if you don't push it far enough. Gregg hanging it out a bit wider, not getting quick movement back to the right, but does get that nice roll around, should be in a good position.
Yeah, look at the flags ripping up there. I think with the direction of this wind, it's going to knock down forehand approaches that go into this green. So being able to get yourself long enough that you can see the basket is really critical so that you don't have to throw wide over the water.
Gannon, again, very overstable disc, getting a nice drag back to the right. All four players should be in decent positions. We see Gregg going to have to hit a gap here.
He's gotten some fortunate results off of errant tee shots, but also had to work really hard on a handful of what it should set up to be straightforward shots.
And just slightly farther left here from Mason, able to go hyzer rather than hit the gap. Gonna put himself right around the edge of the circle.
Contending with some branches is Gannon Buhr. Little forward check into the middle of circle 1.
Gannon birdie there. Gonna move him to 11 down on the round.
And Sexton, not quite as committed as I would expect to see him.
Yeah, gonna leave it. Some extra commitment on this putt with the water back behind it.
Huh.
Didn't want it. And Mason probably thinking there would be a little bit of drop in that, but it looks like a lull in the wind. Gonna cause him a par.
All right, 2 birdies on the card is a lot more than we saw from our round 1 coverage.
Yes, indeed. Brings us to hole 18, 468-foot par 3. Carry the water, 450 feet or so. Likely hyzers off to the right, don't have to carry that far. Gonna play easier today, might see more birdie opportunity.
And Barsby playing the drifting shot up on the shelf with the basket, and then the bonus roll right to the bullseye's edge.
Yeah, beautiful shot from Gregg. Showing the difference of having to force something into a headwind and being able to float something with the tailwind. Gannon going full hyzer, pulls it just a little bit right.
Mason Ford kind of in between what Gannon and Gregg had done, both in shape and result.
Yeah, gonna be circle 2. Very scary look at the water as Sexton with the long approach here. Likely just how he drew it up.
And no funny business from Gannon or Mason. And a great way to finish for Gregg.
Yeah, 4 birdies at least in a row there to get him to double digits on the round, along with the rest of the card here.
Yeah. Hot fire from everyone. We'll see where that leaves them with one final round to go here at the Waco Annual Charity Open, heading back to Lake Waco Golf Club for round 4.
And there you have it, just 1 birdie on the day for our chase card here. Gannon Buhr still able to have tied for the hot round on our card, even with that bogey, and also tied for the lead.
Yeah, 3 of these folks moving up to play on the lead card for the final round. We're going to see a couple new faces, and we certainly hope that you will join us for round 4 coverage on Gatekeeper Media. For Nathan Queen, I'm Andrew Fish.
We'll see you guys out there.